Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am on record saying that ED 2030 agenda is a decoy. When it was first thrown on the national agenda, it was meant to draw attention away from the fact that Mnangagwa had just rigged the 2023 elections. SADC, the regional body, AU, the continental body, and any other respectable election observation team condemned the 2023 elections. Making Mnangagwa illegitimate. He did not want the nation to dwell on that point. So he threw onto the into the ring the proposal that he should be allowed to stay beyond 2028. It's bad enough we've got an illegitimate president, but it is infuriating that he should even have the guts to try to extend his stay in office beyond what was stipulated by the Constitution. He knew that. And he knew that by throwing that in the ring, it'll get the attention of many people. A decoy. So the people forgot about the fact that he is illegitimate and tried to pursue this issue, this problem of illegitimacy, and concentrate on we must not allow him to extend his stay in office. Now, as time went on, he has realized that this is an important issue, which he could still keep on the national agenda. He even got his party to fall behind it. Resolution number 1 of the party's conference of 2024 was pushing the ED 2030 agenda forward. Along came Geza in January 2025, and he threw the spanner in the works when he dismissed it as bullshit. Everybody knew it was bullshit. And Mnangagwa had to forget, put it aside on the back burner, and engage the war veterans, party members, to get them back to committing themselves to Agenda 2030. It took him a whole year. And by the end of the year, after hundreds, if not thousands of cars issued as gifts, war veterans got bicycles, party members got cars, and there were all manner of development funds for various groups just to get them back to commit themselves to ED 2030. And by the time end of the year, the Zanu PF conference in 2025 once again came up with resolution number 1, ED 2030 agenda. What I have said here, and I'll say it again, ED 2030 is a decoy. Now the party has moved on. They are now putting before Parliament a constitutional amendment to advance the same issue. And I still maintain that position, that Amendment 2026 is a decoy. In other words, this is not where we should be fighting. We have been fighting for our freedom and dignity all our lives. Fighting for our freedom and dignity during white colonial rule. And came 1980, we thought, finally, we got what we want, only to find that Zanu PF has got other ideas. The regime imposed a de facto one-party state. We risked everything to appoint MDC, CCC leaders to implement the democratic reforms designed to end the Zanu PF dictatorship. It's now 26 years and counting, and we are still here. This whole amendment is designed to take us even deeper into the abyss. Mnangagwa was able to rig the elections because the 2013 constitution was weak and feeble. This is why Mnangagwa was able to rig the elections. And why Zanu PF has remained in power all these years. And now we are finding ourselves in a situation where we are fighting to defend the weak and feeble constitution. There's a contradiction there. One of the things, for instance, is that this constitution has failed to produce a free and independent ZEC, judiciary, army, etc. And this is why we have got a de facto one-party state. Zanu PF controls all these institutions. The amendment 2026 seeks to amend the constitution so that Mnangagwa can stay in office beyond 2028. That is just one aspect of that constitution. And we are now going out and saying we must defend this constitution because it seeks to amend that small part of the constitution. We are ignoring all these other weaknesses in that constitution. Why I say it's a decoy is that we are forgetting that the constitution is weak. We need to fight, yes, but we need to fight smarter, to be more strategic. The fight the people of Zimbabwe should be involved in is the fight we started in 1999, where we were saying we want to fight to implement the democratic reforms to dismantle the dictatorship. Those reforms, we had the opportunity to implement them during the GNU. That was the golden opportunity to do so. Why some people fail to see that beggars belief. The 2008 to 2013 GNU's primary purpose was to implement those democratic reforms, which would have dismantled the Zanu PF dictatorship, which would have created an independent SEC, freed the police to carry out their work without fear or favor, etc. A functioning democratic system. Those reforms were not implemented. This is why we are where we are. We need to continue focusing on implementing the democratic reforms. We need to accept that this constitution is weak and feeble and it will never work. And we need an opportunity to come up with a more democratic constitution. To be defending a constitution that we already accept is weak and feeble, just because of one small aspect of it, is not being strategic. It's not being smart. Those people who are abandoning the fight to implement the democratic reforms and concentrating on we must stop Amendment 2026 have brought in their coalition people like Chiwenga and his supporters. Let me tell you something. Chiwenga and his supporters are Zanu PF through and through, except for this one aspect. That's where the Chiwenga and Mnangagwa differ. Chiwenga thinks it's his turn to get into power, and his supporters believe it's his turn to get into power. And Mnangagwa wants to hang on. That's where their difference is. Just as much as the difference between Mnangagwa and Mugabe was not a question of they wanted to end the dictatorship. They were just fighting who should be the dictator. That is not the fight we want to be involved in. We want to fight to end the dictatorship and not just swap one dictator for another. That is the strategic fight. That is the smart fight. At the present moment, even if those who are now fighting just to say we want to stop the Amendment 2026 should succeed, they will not succeed in stopping Zanu PF rigging the elections. And let me rest assure you, if people succeed in stopping Mnangagwa, pushing through that amendment, Chiwenga and his friends will be rallying together. And I can tell you the rest of Zanu PF will not risk Zanu PF losing power. They will rally behind them and they will rig the elections if necessary to make sure that Chiwenga gets in. They've done it before. The best those who are fighting to stop the amendment 2026 will ever achieve is stop Mnangagwa being the dictator past 2028, but get another Zanu PF dictator. This is exactly what we did in 2017. That wasn't strategic. That wasn't smart. All we did is swap one dictator for another. Are we going to do the same thing again? Whereas if we focus on, we want elections to be free, fair, and credible, and focus right now on making sure that everybody understands that this is where our fight is. Even if Mnangagwa was to get through his amendment and force the elections to be postponed from 2028 to 2030, when they happen in 2030, and we are determined that unless they are free, fair, and credible, we are not going to participate, and we achieve that, and we are far away from achieving it. But if we achieve it, then Mnangagwa or Zanu PF will not get away with another rigged election. Will be forced into a GNU. And in the GNU, we will be able to revisit the Constitution, implement all the necessary democratic reforms to ensure free, fair, and credible elections in future. That is the fight we want. Let's deal with this problem of the failure to hold free, fair, and credible elections decisively, and not keep on kicking the can down the road. I've given you a quotation there on the screen. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. This was Abraham Lincoln. That makes sense. We are not interested in just fighting here. We must make sure that we are fighting strategically and we are smart. Going for a decoy and abandoning the real fight is not being smart. It is not being strategic either. Think about it. Thank you. Have a good day.